Thank you. I've been searching for more of our kind.
Well, lucky we found you first.
I've been quested to deliver this child. I was hoping that...
Hello there.
This is where the fun begins.
Hey there guys, Unofficial Star Wars here. Hope you're all doing well, and welcome to my Star Wars The Mandalorian Season 3 Episode 6 reaction video. This here is titled Guns for Hire. Let's go ahead and hop right on into it. Wow, what an ending to this episode here. There's a lot going on with it, and it can be a little bit confusing. I want to go on deeper into it and talk a little bit more about it in specifics in a separate future video here on the channel. But essentially what we saw at the ending there is something that I mentioned in the second video breakdown, or the second episode breakdown here on the channel, of how Bo-Katan was the one that defeated this giant mechanical crab droid thing that had defeated Din, giving her the Darksaber, making her the rightful owner of it. And I thought of it kind of as just a throwaway kind of theory, and even then as a little bit of a joke at that there, and it's not something I actually anticipated or thought that they would actually follow through with and bring back up. But yet here we are, and now Bo-Katan seems to be the true holder and owner of the actual Darksaber, making her the actual leader of the Mandalorians. And of course at the end of the episode we also see her battle Axe Woofs, who seems to be the new leader of this Mandalorian clan here. So at the end of that episode we saw her first challenge Axe Woofs to become the new leader of these Mandalorians in that Mandalorian clan. And I was also, side note, I was very surprised to actually see Koska Reeves in there as well. Her actress a couple of months ago, 6+ months ago, we talked about it here on the channel, had actually said that she would not be in the third season of The Mandalorian for whatever reason. She was just lying about it or trying to throw us off of the trail or something like that, but yet here she was. So it was really good to see her. I loved her in season 2, so I hope to get to see a little bit more of her in next week's episode and also in the finale. However, as I was discussing, we first see Bo-Katan actually challenge Axe Woofs, who's the main leader now of these Mandalorians here, ever since Bo-Katan kind of put herself in exile, hiding away on her little castle thing on that moon, or that planet that was right next to Mandalore there, until it was bombed by an Imperial warlord. We're yet to still see who that was. It very well could have been Moff Gideon, given the time of events, seeing that he has broken out of the New Republic jail. However, only time will tell, and I can't wait to see who actually is responsible for that. Now, as I had mentioned at the beginning of this video, I want to discuss the ending of this episode in a separate future video here on the channel. Of course, I'll also be discussing more about it in our breakdown video here coming out later in the day. So hit that subscribe button and that notification bell to be notified for when that video is coming out. This episode was nothing short of amazing. As I had mentioned in the preview video here on the channel as well for episode 6, for this episode of The Mandalorian, Bryce Dallas Howard is the director of this episode, and she fell nothing short of amazing for this episode. I love every episode of The Mandalorian that she's ever done, and for that also the Book of Boba Fett. She's also the voice actress for Yaddle in the Tales of the Jedi animated show on Disney Plus as well, so she's phenomenal when it comes to Star Wars. I have heard a few people actually say that they don't really like this episode of The Mandalorian for whatever reason, and yes, I'm actually recording this a little bit later and actually watched the episode a little bit later. I normally wake up around 3 a.m. to record these and watch the episodes and everything like that. It's a lot of fun. Tune into Star Wars Theories live stream and post about it. However, I just overslept my alarm and I never woke up, so that is the reason that this video is coming out a little bit later in the day than normal. So as I was mentioning there, I have seen a few people actually discuss and say that this episode felt short, it felt like filler, and nothing really exciting happened all that much. Are you kidding me? The entirety, I mean, I know I just talked about it, but the entirety ending of this episode was beyond amazing. It was flawless, it was perfect as honestly anything and everything that I would have done as a hardcore Star Wars fan. And also the rest of the episode felt very remnants of Clone Wars in a way. I'm not exactly sure, I can't put my finger on it necessarily, but it just felt very much like Clone Wars, the animated show. I think this planet heavily reminded me of what Mandalore once was and kind of looked like in the Star Wars The Clone Wars animated show, and even then I think they did that purposely to kind of really truly kind of parallel and shadow kind of what Mandalore really used to be. And then this whole other narrative of Bo-Katan and Din being kind of these detectives, true crime type of characters, trying to see okay, what's going on with these battle droids, is somebody doing this on purpose? And of course this episode was quite a celebrity cameo fest here as well. You have Jack Black, I believe that was Lizzo as like his queen, and then you also have Christopher Lee from Back to the Future as well. And I also am pretty sure I spotted the director of this episode, Bryce Dallas Howard, as well in one of those scenes as well in the background. I'll discuss more about that in our breakdown video, as I had mentioned, coming out a little bit later in the day. Oh, and I almost forgot, I loved the Quill mention there as well. Mando mentions that he used to work for an Ugnaught, or had worked closely with an Ugnaught species character named Quill, and they all like kind of stand up and instantly like recognize that name for whatever reason. I don't know necessarily a lot about like Ugnaughts lure or anything like that, if they're all necessarily overly close together or anything like that, like everybody just knows everybody or something like that. Maybe if you know more about that, let me know in the comments down below. But it seems like everybody recognized the name Quill, so Quill is quite a substantial character for the Ugnaughts there as well. Quill firstly appeared in season 1 of The Mandalorian as well, but had met his end in the season as well. But now also seeing that like Bo-Katan is like the main leader of these Mandalorians here, and also of Mandalore, since now that she technically does have the Darksaber, it was honestly kind of funny to a point to see Din Djarin kind of like geek out like a Star Wars fan himself. Also with Pedro Pascal is pretty funny. I know that he's a pretty big Star Wars fan as well. It's kind of funny, like I'm kind of like reminding me of myself geeking out about like, well, hey, doesn't she truly honestly technically own the Darksaber to a point, because he was defeated and then this mechanical droid was defeated by Bo-Katan. It's honestly something I found kind of funny, to be honest with you guys. But now going forward, it's going to be very interesting, because Bo-Katan's going to bring these Mandalorians and this entire fleet back to the Mandalorians on Navarro, as we had saw in the previous episode, episode 5 of season 3 of The Mandalorian, because the Armorer had told Bo-Katan to kind of go off and find other Mandalorians. Maybe they could make a quick pit stop or something on Tatooine to pick Boba Fett, and what other maybe Mandalorians might have joined Boba Fett. I kind of theorized on this in our preview video here. It also seems like there's like a lot more of these Mandalorians, like Night Owls. I believe that this is the clan and creed that these ones are called. I could be wrong about that, let me know in the comments down below. But when we first saw these guys, it was literally just Koska Reeves, Axe Woofs, and Bo-Katan, and that was in season 2 of The Mandalorian. There wasn't many of them, and I didn't really anticipate or expect to be like that many of them. There seems to be like a whole army of them there, like as many as we saw on Navarro with the Children of the Watch. But then also seeing that as well heavily surprised me as well. Anyway, this has just been a beyond phenomenal episode of The Mandalorian, as I had mentioned earlier on in this video. Hearing some other people's like quick reactive initial thoughts and reactions, essentially saying that this episode felt like a filler, nothing interesting happened or anything like that, are way wrong in my own thoughts and opinions. I think that this episode felt like even bigger than the previous episode, and we're definitely on a clear direction and path of where this season has been heading here for quite some time. I think the only thing that this episode might have fell short with was maybe giving us something on Moff Gideon, like another end scene or something, showing that like he's out and about with these other Mandalorians or something like that. Would have been interesting to see, although I'm definitely certain that we will see that in the next week's episode. Of course, as I had also mentioned at the beginning of this video, I'll have another video, a breakdown video, coming out later in the day into the regards of everything that we saw throughout this episode, Easter eggs, things that you might have missed, and kind of further deeply, more specifically explaining a lot of different things that we saw go on in this episode here as well. So hit the subscribe button and that notification bell to be notified for when that video is coming out. We're also talking about and covering all types of Star Wars related news, leaks, rumors, theories, and breakdowns here on the channel. So if you guys are into anything Star Wars related, honestly, hit the subscribe button and join us here on the channel today. I want to thank you guys so much for all the recent love and support here on the channel. It means the absolute world to me. Anyway, of course, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a great one, guys. May the Force be with you as always. Peace out.